but there it is. Taika Waititi is my dad.
I've never wanted to have sex with a pot pie, but like, I'd have sex with that pot pie.
We're all weak to stepping on nails.
Let me preface this by saying I wrote a script.
Daytona Beach is like 2 mild inconveniences from being a post-apocalyptic wasteland anyway.
So many of my tabs say semen.
Are you guys ready for this weird, horny adventure that we're all about to go on?
You can't handcuff me for skanking.
This motherfucker gaslights you.
Diet Coke and Sorrow will be chapter 4.
And against all odds, Kyle, we became those swirly weirdos.
This whole podcast is a very negative mouthfeel.
Hello, and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how I forgot I was hosting today's episode until I joined the call, and Todd asked if I had show notes. So buckle up, friends.
That seems like the right energy to carry into this episode.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're going. It's a good Sunday morning recording session.
Well, I'll put it this way. Kyle was as prepared for this show as Pete Davidson was in the Suicide Squad.
I can fill that grimy hoodie, no problem.
And by that, the answer is technically. He's technically prepared. Pete Davidson is technically in the movie.
As the endless pipeline of mass media continues to pump content directly into our veins and eyeballs, it's time to review a new superhero movie. And this time it's James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, starring too many people to list right now.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Idris Elba's in it, John Cena's in it, Pete Davidson's in it, Sylvester Stallone, Peter Capaldi, and so many more people that we're going to end it there. So today I am joined by Matt, Ten-Eyed Man Cole, Andrew, Rainbow Raider Henderson, and Todd, Kite Man Thomas to talk the new movie, comparisons to the old movie, and things we hope to see coming down the line in the DCCU. How's everyone doing today?
Well, I'm awake, so I mean, there's that. I was curious, are these other DC heroes at the same tier of stardom as all of the fucking losers in the Suicide Squad movie?
Villains, and yes.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Same like normal person with a fancy backpack or powers that do a very specific thing level villains. Yeah.
Got it.
Kite Man has big stilt man energy.
Kite Man is DC's Stiltman.
TBH, Rainbow Raider's kind of an awesome name.
Rainbow Raider
Yeah,
is
it's
too
cool.
good of a name for Rainbow Raider. Let's put it that way. Other options were Crazy Quilt, Condiment King, which I think we talked about before, and there's another one. It's not important. Prankster.
Not good.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Prankster.
things we talked about before, did you guys catch the Calendar Man cameo in this movie?
Oh, I was going to bring it up.
No.
Yeah, Andrew Calendar Man was in here.
When
Yeah,
was
Sean
that?
Gunn.
Sean
Sean
Gunn's
Gunn.
first cameo was Calendar Man. He's got the months
my
tattooed on his
God.
forehead.
I
Amazing.
didn't even notice that.
I didn't notice
Yeah.
it when we watched the movie. Somebody on YouTube had to tell me, but it was pretty cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
when Polka-Dot Man comes out and John Cena, not that I'm not gonna call him Peacemaker. I'm gonna call him John
Before we
Cena.
dive into this, this is your spoiler warning. We are talking the new, as of this recording, it's been out for 3 or 4 days. The Suicide Squad 2021 movie. We're talking everything about it, including spoilers. So if you haven't watched it and you don't want things spoilered, turn back now. Okay, Todd, tell us about John Cena.
Which we've already spoiled it, that Calendar Man's in this movie. Yeah, when Polka-Dot Man comes out and John Cena's like, what does he do, shoot polka dots at people? And Amanda Waller just stares at him and he's like, he shoots polka dots at people. The guy that yells at him and says something mean, that is Calendar Man. Like Matt said,
so
he has the months of the year tattooed across his forehead. Such a stupid throwaway.
Yeah, the guy behind him is another throwaway loser DC hero, like Ace. Ace is high.
He rips skin off his body like cards, and it's like Gambit if Gambit was into body mutilation.
Isn't there an X-Men Husk? Is that what they're called? The one that like
Husk.
pulls their skin off to become a new superhero? It's
Yeah.
like if Gambit and Husk became one, you would get this shitty DC hero who pulls aces of spades out of his cheeks to throw at people.
Comics are bad sometimes, guys.
Batman villains really are the best.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it. We'll do a quick. Go ahead, Andrew.
I just want to talk about this real quick. I had never seen 2016's Suicide Squad.
Oh, we will talk about 2016 Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I just watched
Andrew.
it. It's not garbage.
It's not good.
It's bad. It's real bad. But we will talk about that here in a little bit. Before we do that though, let's talk about the new movie. We will run through a quick plot synopsis, and then we'll talk about the things we liked and maybe didn't like, and go from there. So it's Suicide Squad. A group of supervillains is put together by the U.S. government in this case, or a shadowy arm of the U.S. government. Is told your head will be exploded if you abandon your mission, and are sent on a suicidal mission of shadowy origins for the U.S.'s more nefarious interests. We open with a team getting put together, including a jail yard is that Michael Rooker?
Yep.
Is that
Michael Rooker as Savant?
Michael Rooker as Savant, Pete Davidson as Blackguard, Nathan Fillion as
TDK.
You'll have to help me with the names through this part.
Flula Borg was Javelin.
Yeah.
Javelin. We had Rick Flag reprising his role from the 2016.
Joel Kinnaman.
Mongal was also there. I don't remember.
Mei Ling, I think is Mei Ling. I think is her first name.
And,
Mongal.
yeah, that's great.
And Weasel.
Played by
Sean Gunn, mocapped as Weasel.
Gunn.
Which this may be a reference for me and me alone, but Doug Jones has been like the motion capture character actor for the last like 30 years. He played like the eyeballs in his hand guy in Labyrinth and a bunch of other monsters that you would recognize. And I want Sean Gunn to be the new Doug Jones. Like, I never need to see Sean Gunn's face again. Stick him in a mocapture suit and make him run funny, and I'm in.
Oh, Doug Jones was mocapped Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
He has been everything. Doug Jones is in every movie you've ever seen.
Anything that's not Andy Serkis is probably Doug Jones as far as mocap goes. So all these supervillains get get taken out of high security prison Bel Rev and put on a helicopter to their mission in Cordo Maltese, where they are to. I lost the thread of what they were told, but they're dropped into the ocean, storming a beach.
It super doesn't matter, and like the movie signals that it doesn't matter because it's just like it doesn't. They're going to another Spanish island. Who cares? It's like a bunch of Metal Gear Solid plot. Like nobody cares.
Yeah, and it super doesn't matter because in 5 minutes, all of these characters die on that beach.
Which leads me to my first question that I want to do before we get in any deeper in this plot synopsis. I want to know who was on everybody's list that made it to the end of this movie. Because I went into this movie with an incredibly short list of people that I thought had plot armor, and I was still wrong. And I'm really curious what everybody else thought.
To answer your question just briefly, from all the things they had shown, it was pretty clear there were going to be two teams at some point. And I had assumed kind of what happened would happen, that the one team would get wiped out nearly entirely except for Margot Robbie.
Yep.
Because obviously Margot Robbie. And then all the footage that was being shown as like the end game fight was all the people that weren't on one specific team. And so I assumed all of them were a wash. I didn't see Polka-Dot Man dying, and I was really sad when he died.
Yeah.
Polka-Dot Man's death, hit me harder than some other MCU deaths I've seen. And I was like, that's a real bummer. Like, he was such a good
James
hero.
Gunn, baby.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Matt and I saw this in the theater, and we like audibly yelled. We were like, no!
Apparently, James Gunn, he did an interview where he said an early cut of the script had them killing Ratcatcher 2.
Oh.
And he undid it. He was like, I couldn't do it. Like, that was too sad. It was too rough. It was too dark. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. The one that really surprised me was Rick Flag. I thought Rick Flag was going to be the thread through all of these, and I thought he had plot armor. Margot Robbie, I knew was the easy, definitely has plot armor. She
is the Mickey Mouse, the Tony Stark of this universe now.
Yeah, I mean, she super is. The other one that really surprised me that I didn't, or that I thought we were going to lose but didn't, was Idris Elba. I thought he was going to be the heroic die to save the mission the way that Rick Flag was, because I did not think that they were going to convince Idris Elba to keep doing superhero movies,
especially with how kind of on the nose it was, as that character was as the like fill-in for Will Smith's character.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was Will Smith's character's arc. If had it been in this movie, like to a T, I had the same thought as you for Idris Elba. I was surprised when they flipped it and it was Rick Flag and then Peacemaker, but not really. Peacemaker was one I thought would make it to the end, and it turns out he did, but not in the way I thought. And
Source question on Source. Bloodsport, is Bloodsport supposed to be a Deadshot carbon copy?
No,
I think. Oh, I thought that Bloodsport was just another, like, my superpower is shooting.
Well, so yes to that. I literally 10 minutes ago I watched a history of Bloodsport video on YouTube, so I'm educated to answer this question. First off, that video told me that there's a new Suicide Squad book in 2021, like a new series that redoes a lot of these backstories, because like Bloodsport, his thing years ago was that he was in the Vietnam War. He deserted the Vietnam War. His little brother went to the Vietnam War in his place, had all of his limbs blown off, and then Bloodsport went crazy because of his brother's sacrifice and just started like murking innocent people. And then Lex Luthor gave him a bunch of expensive guns to kill Superman. And he said, I'll kill Superman and everybody else I see, and continued to kill innocent people until Superman beat the hell out of him. And so new Bloodsport is like pretty similar, but doesn't really have any powers outside of the power of gun, except that Amanda Waller has given him all of the tech that we saw in the movie, including his real magic power is that he can just like summon weapons from a nondescript faraway place that comes straight to his hands backpack. Because technology. Yeah, that's Bloodsport in 30 seconds. He's got the power of
hammer space.
Yeah.
So we see this team put together, to get back to the quick plot synopsis. We see this team put together. They storm the beach, and immediately Blackguard, Pete Davidson's character, turns them over to the Corto Maldesians, rats them out, and they all get killed on this beach except for Rick Flag and Margot Robbie. We then cut to our A-team quietly infiltrating the island on the side that isn't swarming with an army, and the actual movie following the actual stars begins, and we jump back and get the backstory to the forming of this team, which same thing, they're all broken out of prison, they all have a tragic backstory. We'll talk more about that as it becomes important.
But the thing is, kind of, they don't all have tragic backstories, which I gotta
it's not tragic.
I gotta say, I'm into that. Like, Idris Elba's like he's Will Smith's character, but he's like, oh, I'm just like kind of a dick.
Yeah,
well, and that's fine.
I think the flavor they're going is him as a hired mercenary, and like obviously they did the whole like he was in jail because he put Superman in the ICU because he shot him with a kryptonite bullet, which is like dope as fuck.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna talk probably a bit about this later, but if we think about how this ties into like the universe of DC, which is a thing kind of, you would probably make the connection that Lex Luthor has like paid off this guy and given him the tech to put Superman in the hospital with a kryptonite bullet.
Yep.
Who's Lex Luthor right now? Who's currently playing Lex Luthor? Is that still
Jesse Eisenberg?
Still Jesse Eisenberg canonly?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Until we see otherwise.
Got it.
Yep. So we follow our A team into Cordo Maltese. Am I saying that right? I feel like I've said it differently every time.
Yeah, Cordo Maltese.
Cordo Maltese. We learn there is a military coup going on. We learn that our A team is sent in to bring back, destroy evidence of, do something with Project Starfish, which is our big bad for the movie. And hilarity ensues, shenanigans play out, and a good time is had by all or most. They plan a jailbreak to break out Harley Quinn. That doesn't happen in a very funny twist. Peter Capaldi dominates the screen for his 15 minutes of exposition dump and explaining to us what Project Starfish actually is. And then a kaiju starfish shoots facehuggers all over this tiny South American island, and our big third act kaiju fight happens, and it's glorious. Did I miss anything?
Not really.
The power of friendship was the real tool in our arsenal.
Well, yeah, Todd, it's a superhero movie. It's always the power of friendship.
Also, the power of surrogate fatherhood.
Yeah.
The
James Gunn special, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, the James Gunn superhero daddy issues comes back in full force from Guardians 2, which I'm like cool with. But there it is. Taika Waititi is my dad.
I would also like to say, and this is a weird sentence that's about to come out of my mouth, but Suicide Squad 2021 has the most tasteful Margot Robbie sex scene that I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
And then she kills the guy, which is fun.
I did enjoy that whole exchange. Well, I'll talk about my thoughts on Harley Quinn in the movie, but that was a positive scene of hers. I enjoyed that.
We're getting to the point where we're gonna like say the things we loved about this movie, and I think like there were only 2 references to the Joker that I caught. The one is that you just identified, where she's like, I swore that if I saw her, I'm not even going to try and do a Brooklyn accent because it's going to be like weird
that was
murdered
a Southern accent.
Yeah, it was bad. she was, if I saw red flags, I'd take care of them immediately, and I'm just getting really like, I got to do that. And so that's obviously a throwback to the Joker, but also she had a jacket at one point that said, live fast, die clown.
Yeah.
As opposed to her old jacket in the Suicide Squad that should not be mentioned, where it was like property of the Joker. Or
her jacket was Daddy's Little Monster, and then she had in 2016 a tattoo on her shoulder that said property of the Joker, and her tattoo now says property of no one, which I think might have gotten updated in Birds of Prey, but I don't totally remember.
There were some, I feel like there were some Birds of Prey call-outs that went over my head because I did not watch Birds of Prey.
I watched Birds of Prey, and I didn't see too many call-outs other than, like, she's free at the end of Birds of Prey, and when she got into the helicopter, Captain Boomerang was like, what are you doing back in prison house? And she was like, exposition, and he was like, great.
Yeah. I had some road rage inside of a bank, because I think is what she said.
Yeah.
Matt pointed this out, but that scene when she has the javelin, and she's breaking herself out of prison, and there's like all of the artistic flowers and stuff that's popping.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Matt said that was a callback to
that's very Birds of Prey imagery.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure because I hadn't seen it. But that seemed like it to me.
She has a really similar scene of like walking down a hallway, breaking men's arms in Birds of Prey. It's one of the better scenes of the movie.
And flowers pour out of every wound she inflicts, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's get into the meat of this episode. What did we like about the new movie?
Yeah. I mean, the things I've said, my big takeaway from this movie, honestly, is that, like, I don't think any character / actor has deserved a redeeming shot at the character actor combo than Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, because Margot Robbie to Harley Quinn is as good a match as like Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man, or, you know, any of those, like, name an actor who just is the character. And the way that Harley Quinn has been portrayed in all the other movies has been not the best. And so I'm really glad that we finally got a good Harley Quinn movie. And Birds of Prey was not a bad Harley Quinn movie. It was not a great movie, but Harley Quinn was not the problem.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed all of these, like, deep cut pre-New 52 DC villains who, like, did not matter. That was a lot of fun. I got, well, I'll save that for dislikes and I'll say that later, but I enjoyed the story. It was fun. We broke a lot of things. We killed a lot of people. And I'll say my, like, favorite scene of this whole movie was when it was Rick Flag and Ratcatcher 2 go down with the Thinker into the basement of Jotunheim, the first time that they, like, see Starro, and they walk through that prison of all of the, like, Starro zombies. Yeah. And then off to the right is this absolute, like, macabre horror show of a corpse torso hanging and twitching with a Starro head, and, like, there's a body on the table with a Starro thing pulled away from its face, but, like, still attached. And that was all so, like, it was the perfect amount of camp. It was like walking through a haunted house where it was like, ugh, I hate this, but at the same time, like, it's fake enough that I don't believe it, but my disbelief is suspended, so I'm into it. Like, I just really liked it. I really enjoyed that. So, and the fun scene of everybody in the gentleman's club and David Malakian dancing with 17 of his moms was chef's kiss.
Yeah, that was great. I really, after having seen 2016 Suicide Squad, I really liked, I appreciated it a lot more, but I really liked that the Suicide Squad allows its villains just to be villains, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Kyle, like, not everyone has a tragic, like, the previous setup was like everyone has a tragic backstory. We have to like Deadshot because he's a good father or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we have to like hate Harley Quinn because, like, she was tricked into falling into that vat of acid and making out with the Joker in a vat of acid or whatever, right? Like, or whatever the hell that was. I don't know. I was playing Monster Hunter while I was watching it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that this movie was allowed themselves to steer into the skid a little bit and just be like, yeah, here's a fun concept for a villain. Like, we don't have to like them. They can just be like, they can just create chaos and it's fine.
I liked that they turned the, like, Will Smith's character as a good dad on its head with Idris Elba by having the fight with his daughter in the prison. Because he's bad
that was
dad.
Great. He's a bad dad, and that's fine. Like, he's a flawed character, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, we can have, like, they don't need to be redeemable. They can just be like whatever. And they tried to do the, like, father-daughter surrogate daughter thing with Will Smith and Harley Quinn, which was just, like, weird and stupid. But, like, they were able to, I think they did a really good job with Ratcatcher 2. Also, Ratcatcher 2 is just, like, a good name.
That they kept calling her Ratcatcher 2 through the whole movie.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But they were able to funnel all of the, like, tragic backstory, emotional tie, whatever, like, sense of family into one character, and it worked. Right? Like, we didn't need to have, everybody doesn't need to have this connection with Harley Quinn. Like, she can just be fun and crazy and stab things with a javelin, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I loved everything with Ratcatcher 2. I forget her actress's name. I thought she was fantastic. I love the little bit of backstory we got with Hollywood's Taika Waititi, because I love Taika Waititi and he's just great. And yeah, that was excellent.
Daniela Melchior.
Thank you.
Ratcatcher too. Yeah, so I'm gonna say that the thing that I liked most about this was the amount of character development they did. So again, much like Matt had alluded to, David Dastmalchian as Polka-Dot Man was my favorite part of this movie. The little bits they had given us in the previews, I was like, oh, okay, I'm cool with this. And then thinking about all the times he got to like steal the screen just kind of informed my opinion here that like they did the right amount of character development for the main characters they were looking at, good, bad, otherwise. That they didn't need to give you, copious amounts of flashbacks to Idris Elba's character. You got that, like Andrew said, he was a bad dad, and he was a hired mercenary who put Superman in the hospital with the kryptonite bullet. You got it. You're good. They don't tell us shit about Peacemaker's backstory, other than he is also a guy with gun. Yeah. And you're like, okay, like he's got like a raging erection for justice, whatever that means. And like, and again, like they show you this like man shark, and they're like, yeah, he's the son of a shark god. And you're like,
fine.
All right,
okay,
got it. They gave you enough that like you have one or two, like maybe 3 bullet points of reference for each character, but it's enough to inform why they're there, what they're doing, and you're in for it. And like they didn't need to give you this like long, tragic, drawn out backstory for each person that we don't care about, but it all still made sense in the end. Like even Starro, by the end of it, you're like, oh,
Starro.
Well, yeah, it sucks that you were brought into this, but also you're kind of taking over this country, and that can't be good either. But anyway, we're going to stab you in the eye with a javelin that's gotten way more screen time than it probably deserved to get, and it's really important, I guess. And like, I really thought that they nailed the characters. And obviously a movie that the plot does not fuck all matter. It's the characters that you came to see.
Yeah.
And they just did such a good job with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Guardians formula, right?
It's the Guardians formula.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint I've seen so far about the movie is that all the characters do seem a little one note, especially once you get past the main 4, 5. That's the movie. We met like 12 characters up at the top.
Yeah.
There was if we took time to flesh them all out, it would have been a really boring movie, like the first half of 2016 Suicide Squad.
Well, the other thing that I would add too is that from what I remember of the 2016 Suicide Squad, when they introduced the concept of like we have exploding things in your head, it's Slipknot? Does that end up being his name? Hangman,
Grappler,
not man, rope dude,
grave digger.
He is in the movie for 8 seconds, and it's only to prove like, oh yeah, there is a bomb. Like that's
he's the guy that sells fireworks to Joe Dirt. That's who he is. Anyway, He is like, I'm right. Anyway, like he tries to sneak away and they blow his head off and they're like, that's what'll happen to you. And like, that's the way the 2016 one is like, we'll kill you if you get away. Whereas this one is like, hey, here's the thing. You understand what's going on. Anyway, here's an awesome montage where we want to make it very clear that all of you are incredibly expendable. Also, Michael Rooker, we're going to blow your head off as you try and swim away into the open ocean.
So I'll wrap this up. I also enjoyed the new movie. My favorite part of it though was more like the style. This was the first superhero movie, especially that I've seen in a long time, that had its own flavor, and it definitely brought things back from the previous Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad movie. Like the title transitions were very from those movies, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Where like the title, the new scenes were announced like as part of the scenery. I thought that was really cool, but it was very James Gunn at the same time. Mm-hmm. Same with, like Matt said, like that walk once they get into Jotunheim. Very James Gunn. All the character designs just have his fingerprints all over it. And man, do I miss watching big budget movies made by one person at the creative helm as opposed to a team of executives and their mountain of cocaine, because it was just fun to watch.
Here's such a small thing. I think we're going to talk a lot about comparing the two movies, but James Gunn obviously like is known for his soundtracks, right? Like that's a thing. He loves some 70s music, but you compare the soundtracks alone between the two movies and the use of licensed tracks. And when I was watching 2016's, I just rolled my eyes
everyone was like the most obvious song they could have picked.
Exactly. Yeah.
In 2016. And just like Guardians of the Galaxy, they were recognizable songs and put you in the right headspace that he wanted for the scene, but you might not have known that song.
Okay, so wait, Andrew Henderson, are you telling me that a headlining song featuring Imagine Dragons did not save the 2016? I've got Lil Wayne, Wiz Khalifa, and Imagine Dragons with Logic and Ty Dolla Sign.
Oh God, you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, I'm literally looking at the video. You're telling me that didn't do it for you? Because I find that hard to believe.
I mean, so everybody makes that joke about like somebody plays Fortunate Son behind is the title track for a helicopter landing in Vietnam. They fucking play Fortunate Son. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah.
What the hell? So that kind of thing, like, it's so small, but it's makes such a big impact on your experience. And again, like Kyle said, like, it sets the tone. And James Gunn is very good at doing that. I mean, every one of us has at least listened to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 or Volume 2, the soundtrack. Again, not because those songs are amazing or anything. It's just like they're it's so much better crafted. It's not a bunch of people in a bunch of execs in a boardroom saying like, here are the most popular songs from 1984,
Exactly. So let's move right along. Where did you think the movie might have missed the mark, or what parts of the movie didn't sit as well with you compared to the last 3 or 4 years of superhero movie releases? Matt, if you want to kick us off. Oh, Todd, no, go for it.
I would love to just say mine real quick. Yeah. The only, or at least the main critique I had of this movie was obviously there was this tone of like, government bad. Government did the bad. American government did the bad thing. And like, I completely get, like, I love the idea of, make the government, the shadowy government, the bad people. But I felt like it was really heavy. Like bash you in the face with how bad the American government is, which, like, trust me, I'm not gonna like ever put myself up for the American government. But there were just, I don't know, one or two many times that it was like, well, that's the American government for you. And like, in one hand, I get it. You did it. I got it. But it was just enough times that I was like, yeah, no, I get it. It sucks. Like, it sucks. Keep going.
Had James Gunn not been in charge of this movie, the words deep state would have appeared in the script more than once.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, like, I get what they were doing, and that was, like, the big bad, and it's totally right. The story's great. But it was just, it started with, like, Peacemaker and Bloodsport's attack on, like, the freedom fighters. And it was like, well, you Americans always come in and do this. It's like, yeah, they do, and that sucks. Like, it was just enough times that I was like, okay, I got it. If I'm going to critique something, that was it. Also, they put Pete Davidson in this movie. They shouldn't have done that.
I disagree. I loved Pete Davidson's like death cameo. I would have liked to have seen. I feel like the U.S. made Starro this other country's problem would have hit harder had they not, like you said, drilled into the like America bad earlier in the movie. Because I did like that. I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Matt, what did you think?
Yeah, I had a couple of complaints that certainly weren't major because, like, overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I was ready for everyone to die. However, I would have liked one more scene with, like, the first team that all got murked on the beach just to make those deaths feel like I don't know, like a little bit more of like who the fuck these people were. Like Mongal didn't even have a line. Like she just jumped on a helicopter and exploded.
I got the bird flag and then screaming and then burning.
And I kind of thought that Captain Boomerang was going to be like the Kano in the Mortal Kombat movie. Like he was the Australian comedic relief. And I was kind of excited for that. So like of all of the people who died, Boomer was the one who I was the most like, I would have taken like 10 more minutes of that guy. So that was complaint 1. Complaint 2 was the absolute slaughter of the Freedom Fighters camp. Like they telegraphed very early that like, you know, Rick Flag's not in any trouble. This is a resistance fighting group. It was very clear when they picked him up in the woods that they weren't going to like kill this guy. And so I got the bit as they were coming up on the camp. I was like, you know, this is going to be like a peaceful camp and they're going to kill a couple of guards. And then Rick Flag's going to come up and be like, what are you doing? Everything's fine. But it went a little bit too long for me. I was like, you killed a lot of people. Like the woman's just doing laundry and you shot her in the neck. Like, and I get that the whole thing there is like, these are villains. End of the day, they're villains. Doesn't matter. Villains. Villain-ass villains. And that made their turn at the end against Amanda Waller where Bloodsport is like, no, we're going to go back and save this country. Like, I guess it made it hit a little harder, but honestly, the whole Freedom Fighter Resistance Force plot line just felt kind of ham-fisted. I didn't really need it. I didn't really care. And watching them just like tear apart a field of peaceful resistance fighters was a little like icky.
Especially to be used for the pissing contest between Peacemaker and Bloodsport.
Yeah.
That could have been done with the like at a different scene with capital B bad guys. But I get you.
And then my last complaint, honestly, is like that Peacemaker survived the movie. I knew we were going to get a Peacemaker series. I don't know much about Peacemaker. I didn't know much about Peacemaker going in, but the fact that he was basically like a government apologist cop and that like he was the one who survived the movie, like, fuck you, man. Like, just this guy sucks. Kill him. I want to see him die. And I get it. They're villains. That's the thing here. I really like the Suicide Squad as a story. I liked what the 2016 Suicide Squad wanted to be, not what it was. So I get it, but man, fuck Peacemaker. Fuck him.
Yeah. On that same note, there was a point in the movie halfway through where, and again, I saw the Suicide Squad before I watched Suicide Squad, so I didn't know who Rick Flag was or have any of that context. There was a part where it was like right after the bar scene, the bar scene actually was very good.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, bar scene was very good.
That was definitely one of the highlights.
The woman who played Mantis is in that scene.
Yeah, Clement.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like her. But anyway, after that bar scene, when they're trying to get Peter Capaldi, it was like my brain went into a fog. It was like, how many of these are just guy with gun? And there was specifically a part where John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, and Idris Elba are like in the back of a van and like kick open the door, and it's like three brownie dudes with guns. And I'm like, this is virtually indistinguishable. Like, we did not need three guys with the power of gun. Now I get why they did that, obviously, with Peacemaker's flip, but still, like, man, that was a long time to get there. I was kind of done with guy who shoots real good.
The one redeeming, so I agree. Now that you mentioned that scene, when they all walk out and they're all the starting load up screen for Call of Duty is what that was. The one redeeming for that moment was them breaking out of that car. When like Idris Elba is doing his, like, you know, it's the punch that you can kill someone in one hit, and they're like, that's impossible. And like the funniest moment was, I think it's Flag that says it. It's either Flag or Peacemaker, but I think it's Flag. He goes on one, and like they just say one and they do it. And like, to me, that I was like, all right, how are our quote heroes gonna get out of this moment? And like you said, it's guys with gun. Their power is gun. And the one moment that they got to all shine in that hand-to-hand combat was a very cool moment. And I agree. I was like, they did it. They checked the box. And then they did the walking out thing. And I was like, oh, that's right. Guys with gun.
Yeah.
Like, I get, okay.
That scene to me is Warner Brothers. Like, that was their one. That was their, like, you got to give us the Call of Duty loading screen.
Yeah.
If you give us nothing else. And he's like, fine.
And I'll be clear, I was back in once they got to Jotunheim, because then it was like, oh, Bloodsport's basically Boba Fett. Like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. I accept that.
Him pulling weapons off of his armor is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like,
very good design.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the Nerf guns that were really popular, that you could combine all the Nerf guns together into a bigger Nerf gun? That's all I thought about Bloodsport, that whole scene.
We're not talking about Suicide Squad's tie-in with Nerf today, Matt. I agree with most of what you guys said. The only one I would add to my list of dislikes, and it's just a personal preference, is Margot Robbie's Brooklyn accent is real bad, guys. It's real bad.
Is it worse than the one that I did 5 minutes ago?
Is it in all three movies? Is it that bad in Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad?
Okay, can I defend this real quick? I think her Brooklyn accent is bad. I think her Harley Quinn accent is good.
I would agree. I mean, that's Harley Quinn. Like, Harley Quinn in everything is a bad Brooklyn accent. Like, that's the point.
Yeah.
Also, she's Australian. Kyle, cut her some slack.
I know it's a nitpicky thing, but when it was right when she started talking again at the movie, I was like, she's doing the accent still.
I really like it. I think it's
it.
fun and silly. I don't know.
All right, I'll die alone on my rock then. So those are our thoughts on the new movie. We'll come back after the break here and compare it to the old movie and talk about our hopes and dreams for the DCCU based off of 2021, The Suicide Squad. But we will take a quick break first.
Hi, I'm Eric.
I'm Amanda.
And we are House Breakfast, your new favorite Twitch stream that you should definitely be following.
Here's the thing. You can eat breakfast anytime, and we want everybody to know that. And you can also play video games in a low-stakes, fun way with a really wholesome chat every Tuesday and Saturday.
We're partners in life-loving podcasting, and that now includes streaming, because everyone needs to learn how to stream in 2021.
But playing games that we played on our N64 and PlayStation 2 and GameCube is soothing, and I think the one thing that might make all of this just kind of slightly better.
We really like Pokemon and Mario. You're just going to have to deal with that.
So find us at twitch.tv/housebreakfast.
And follow us on Twitter at housebreakfast_. House Breakfast, because you can eat breakfast anytime. That was pretty, I like that
too. Good job. Good job.
All right, we're back. So we're just this part's gonna be a little less structured, a little more free. We're gonna compare The Suicide Squad to Suicide Squad, and those of us who've seen it at least, and talk about maybe where the new movie hit that the old movie missed, and things like that. So
Kyle, may I start, because it is fresh on my mind?
Please, Andrew, you're gonna explode if you don't get
I gotta talk about this movie.
Squad out of your head.
much like polka dots, I have to vomit out Suicide Squad. Otherwise, I will explode in an intergalactic virus. Yeah. So speaking of intergalactic viruses, I think the big takeaway for me in comparing the two movies is this movie. I'm gonna say this: The Suicide Squad, aka The Suicide Squad: A Realm Reborn, had to happen in order to. That was a Final Fantasy 14 reference. This much like Final Fantasy 14 had to blow up and start again. This movie, The Suicide Squad, had to blow up the original and start over. And I think this is this is now the definitive Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the two, it does everything right. Most of the things right that the original did not. The group dynamic.
That was my biggest observation, was like this.
Yep.
Doing everything right that the original did wrong. Because the 2016 one had a lot of good pieces. On paper, should have worked. And it didn't. And then this one
think
did.
about look at the characters, right? We said like Bloodsport is basically low rent Deadshot. We can't use Deadshot, unfortunately. Deadshot, arguably like a cooler character. We can't use Deadshot. So here's what we would have done had we been able to use Deadshot, right? Idris Elba. Everything that Idris Elba is great. And not to say like Will Smith wasn't good. The writing for Will Smith's character was so laughably bad. I was texting the guys while watching it, and it's like literally a line is like, "Every time I wear this, somebody dies." I like wearing this. Fuck you, man. I sent that with a gif of Shadow the Hedgehog with gun. Just like, God damn it. So the version we talked a lot about Bloodsport and Deadshot. I think they did that better. They fixed that the leader character, quote unquote. Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn originally was intended to be the tragic backstory. The studio wants us to feel bad for Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn made all those decisions, right? Like she did that of her own sound mind. There is other things going on with that character. The world, her problems were not done to her. It's deeper than that. Like, and her whole thing doesn't start with the Joker.
That is the central thesis behind Birds of Prey, if I'm not mistaken. Is she takes back ownership of everything and has that like, I do the bad stuff. That's who I am. I'm not going to apologize for any of it, kind of thing.
And again, like I said earlier, like I like that. I like that. I think she's just let her be a fun character, right? She goes off and does her own thing. She goes on a murder rampage, and it's great. It's like one of the best scenes. And let's leave the emotional stuff to a different character who actually has a tragic backstory, i.e. Ratcatcher, right? So we, like I said before, we funneled all of that emotional family ties develop into one character. We haven't talked a lot about King Shark, which, like, obviously King Shark was the Groot stand-in, right? Like, but also, like, there's your Killer Croc. Like, Killer Croc, like, what the fuck was Killer Croc even doing in Suicide Squad 2016? Like, nothing. He was boring.
Right.
Tech demo for the CGI and muscle when plot needed muscle.
Yeah, exactly. The plot muscle. So I think King Shark had exactly the right amount of scenes. I did not want more King Shark. That was plenty of King Shark. If I had one more King Shark scene, it probably would have been too much. But that was enough. And it was like he has a little bit of lines. He's the big heavy, but he's also the gentle giant or whatever. Fine, done. And then finally, Polka-Dot Man. And you'll have to remind me, who was the fire guy, the pyro? What was his name? Diablo. So there was our weird character, quote unquote, right? Like, again, kind of a tragic backstory, but like he was like the weird character with the chaotic powers. I mean, Polka-Dot Man was so much better a fitting of that trope, and like you didn't really need to feel bad for him. Again, like something was done to him, sure. You didn't really need to feel bad for him. It was just kind of like fun. You know, like we don't need to see how he like murdered his whole family by accident. You know what I mean? Like, come on, like that's just like unnecessarily dark. I think like just generally like all of the transition, the versions of those characters, and then of course we haven't talked at all about Amanda Waller.
The
much better.
Improvements, like having Amanda Waller be an unapologetically bad person.
Yes,
amazing. That's I'm more familiar with being more familiar with that character is more true to the source. Like Amanda Waller is ruthless and will do anything, will do anything for the mission character, and that's what we saw, and that was great. I loved it.
And having people react to that is not just like anonymous 5-star general who's like Pentagon, blah blah blah. You know, that was what that character also needed.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I mean, I've seen Suicide Squad 2016 a bunch of times, and every time I see it, I want it to be good, and I hope that I find some new redeemable thing in it, and I never do. I never ever do, and it's because it's just a bad movie, and they had a lot of pieces that they could have done a lot with, and they just chose not to. And I think that, like Andrew said, we fixed a lot of those things. Biggest being we used the characters for things other than plot devices, because the one argument I've heard against 2021 Suicide Squad is, well, there's no real plot and none of the characters matter. And I think that that's the point. I think that's what makes 2021 Suicide Squad work. Whereas in 2016 Suicide Squad, it was like everybody matters, everybody's got some plot detail, and like the whole thing of 2016 Suicide Squad was we had two characters in Harley Quinn and June Moon who are basically just damsels in distress through the whole goddamn movie, which isn't fun and it's not good. And so like not having Rick Flag be on this mission to try and save his girlfriend, great change. Putting Harley Quinn in like the Harley Quinn jacket and pants combo, the like cool princess dress with the shit kicking boots, like the punk princess in a ball gown and Doc Martens is a personal favorite. Like
exactly your shit.
Yeah, exactly my shit. But it's so much better than like the fucking trash outfits from 2016 Suicide Squad.
The fishnets and booty shorts, because it was just fan service.
Right. And like the 2016 Suicide Squad, the end goal was to get every character to turn and make you fall in love with everybody and value Diablo's sacrifice and appreciate Killer Croc for who he is, and Will Smith is a good dad. And like, who fucking cares? They're villains. They murdered a village of resistance fighters. Let them die. They don't need to be redeemed. And so like, you know, Bloodsport turning into like, I'm gonna do this, but then stay the fuck out of my life is good. And Ratcatcher like standing up for herself, but not like, you know, saving the world, just killing the big bad. Like it just, the Suicide Squad is supposed to be a bunch of expendable losers, and that's what this movie was. And it was fun to watch expendable losers do cool things and die. Where in the 2016 movie, it was like, let's try and make you fall in love with 5 characters you've never heard of before and are also supposed to hate, and it was bad.
Well, to even add to that, you know, you said there at the end, like, they don't try and redeem anyone except for in the one moment where Bloodsport's like, no, we're gonna do this. Like, like good. You know, I think they needed a hint of that. But even there at the end, once he had the data that shows the government was doing shitty stuff, they didn't leak it online. He kept it on a private server and was like, hey, leave us the fuck alone.
He used his blackmail.
He's like, we are walking away, and if you ever do anything about that, then we'll leak it. But it wasn't like, you know, altruism will have me share this with the press, be damned of the consequences. It was like, no, we are selfishly, like, we're taking what we deserve, and like, fuck you, and like, just leave us alone. Which, like you said, that is what I appreciated about this. So Suicide Squad 2021 understood the homework. Like they paid attention to the directions.
They got the assignment.
They figured it out. And it was exactly what it needed to be. And like, this is one of those times where, obviously with content this heavy, which is like a bunch of murderers being a team to supposedly do some good, that they joked their way through it, and it was a delightful watch. Now, thinking about like the comparison to what we might ultimately get with the Thunderbolts, or, you know, the Dark Avengers or whatever in the MCU, I'll be interested to see how they balance that, because obviously the MCU has always been lighter than DC, and that's what's made it work. And I don't think the MCU could do the assignment with their bad guys and be lighter than what this was. And I wonder if that won't be one where they try and even like turn into it more and maybe go darker and try and make a different but similar and, you know, movie of this caliber. So I see what they did on this, and I think they did well, because they obviously did not do it well in 2016. And I'm curious to see how the movies that follow this will build or change.
And I'll wrap up this section with more like a general thought. 2016 Suicide Squad still suffered from the thing Warner Brothers was in hot water for a little while, which was just every movie apologized for being a comic book movie, and 2016 Suicide Squad was still doing that, albeit it was less like, we're gonna make it gritty and real, and instead apologize by making it Hot Topic. You want superheroes, you're getting Hot Topic superheroes, because that's what our data shows will sell merchandise. And if you want it, you'll take it and you'll shut up. And it wasn't good. It was felt very fake, very again, sorry, this is a comic book movie. If that's not your bag, here's at least a Hot Topic line that you might like. And this wasn't. This was very unapologetically weird and fun. And then I think the other thing, and this touches on some of what Todd said, that this was rated R, and it leaned into that without doing the tell an off-color joke every 5 minutes, but instead
they murdered resistance fighters.
They murdered resistance fighters. There was, there were bloody consequences for their actions on occasion, and it felt, again, like I said before, more its own thing, and not trying to sell you something, not trying to apologize for what it is. It leaned into it, a movie about supervillains, and let them be supervillains, and it was much more a good time than before. And I hope is the lesson DC learns from this, which they never seem to learn any lessons. But that brings us to our final topic for today. What are your predictions / hopes, fears, dreams for the DCCU going forward from this movie? Todd is raising his hand and pointing to himself. Todd.
Yeah, I'll raise my hand in the call, so you have to call on me. Hey, I work in online education. Real quick, one thing I forgot to say about the old movie. Sorry, it was so bad that one day, me and one of my coworkers, when it came out, I worked at a different university, and it was summer break on a Friday afternoon, and we sat down in his office just to watch it instead of doing real work. We were going to answer emails and watch this movie, and 30 minutes into it, I said, never mind, I'm going back to my office to do actual work because I don't want to watch this.
I worked with people that were vehemently trying to defend that movie, and
you don't need that kind of negativity in your life, Kyle.
I couldn't take them seriously as coworkers anymore after it.
All right, so where this goes from here. So we already mentioned that, John Cena is getting his Peacemaker short run series in, I believe it's January. It's already been filmed. It's in post right now. Real quick, without looking, I don't know if you guys have IMDb open as we do. Do you know how many DCCU movies are coming out in 2022?
More than I'd care to know.
Definitely more than I want there to be.
I'm not going to like the number.
I'm going to guess 5.
8.
Okay, so Matt was closer, though Price is Right rules, you both lose. It's 4 that I know of. Man, why doesn't this hand go down? This sucks. Online learning stupid. Anyway, so there are 4. There are currently stated 4 DCCU movies in 2022. And to list them, you have The Batman with Robert Pattinson.
With our Pat.
Yeah.
Which looks really good.
Really good,
man.
I'm in for it. I'll
hold my breath. And then the legends have foretold a Black Adam movie is coming, and it's coming in 2022. Fun fact, do you know who one of the supporting actors is in Black Adam? Oh, you don't know? Anyway, it's Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan is going to be in that movie as Dr. Fate, the guy who wears the helmet. Anyway.
Amazing.
And then the other 2 movies, which it's okay if you don't know this, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Then the 4th and final movie slated for 2022 is the Flash movie. It's supposed to come out in November, and it is rumored that they'll be doing the Flashpoint storyline, which is effectively the we fuck up the timeline and it starts new.
Blowing up the timeline to start over. Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying. So I don't know how much this actually plays into the future, but obviously this movie, I mean, I've not read, but I'm assuming it's done well. It is a fun movie. It is a good movie. And so my thought is that there's no reason to not continue whatever they're doing. And so what I'm guessing is for the Suicide Squad itself, I think we'll continue to see more. I don't know why you don't continue to do this. and like make it fun, make it easy. Like it's easy to consume media.
This is their opportunity to have that. This movie can come out in perpetuity. If an actor wants out, it's very easy to write him out. If you want to get a really good get that you can only get for one movie, you've got the perfect in and out for him in one movie. Much like we said, Loki could be Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston time cops forever and ever. A Suicide Squad movie could come out every 4 years, and it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, they only need, honestly, well, I was gonna say they only need a character or two to stay on to be consistent, but even then, scrap the whole thing, start anew, it doesn't matter. But my point was going to be that it was stated that the initial plot of this movie was going to involve not a mind-controlled Superman, but like an evil clone Superman, like a high-powered individual that they were going to be hunting, which makes sense as to why they had Bloodsport, the guy that put Superman in the ICU.
Because that's the Suicide Squad game that's coming out, or came out. Is that.
Yeah, so I think, and that's probably why they leaned away from that, is that's too close to what they were doing there. But anyway, my point being that we are about to see the DC universe maybe try to grow in some different ways, knowing that a year and a half from now, they have the opportunity to like level set and say, okay, what's worked, what's not, what do we want to start this new universe in? The only person that has to stick around is Ezra Miller. And like, we'll just build off of that. And so my hope is that we continue to see the Suicide Squad. My hope is that we don't continue to see Peacemaker. I'm good with him being done after his short run series. And my hope is that we get to see a lot more King Shark, because I really liked King Shark and that was fun. And my hope, I guess in the end, is that we actually see the/a Suicide Squad interact with one of the Justice League in some capacity. Like that would be my hope, because the thought of them actually, like Superman showing up and being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm Superman and you're a man with gun. Like, get out of here.
The bad news I have for you, Todd, is I think we will see Peacemaker as long as John Cena wants to play the character, because like, John Cena puts butts in seats.
He does.
Like,
he does.
Hey, real quick, just a quick errata. So the Suicide Squad game was originally announced a long time ago, before the first movie, alongside the Arkham Origins. This was Rocksteady. That was canceled, but it has since been resurfaced. Rocksteady Studios announced end of last year that they're kind of redoing it, called Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. That is so far rumored to be coming out next year, 2022.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That's the gameplay trailer that I saw last year during, I think it was DC Fandom, that came out.
That it looks like it's being marketed kind of like Borderlands, is what it is, the energy that I got from it.
Yeah, and Tara Strong, who is Miss Minutes, does the voice of Harley Quinn, who was the original, I believe, the original Harley Quinn. Or maybe like the second one.
Do we think that this Suicide Squad game will be better than the Avengers game, even though the Avengers game literally had 15 years to get it right?
As someone who played 1 hour of the Avengers game, I say unequivocally yes.
It's a low bar to climb over. It's a very low bar.
Now, to be fair, it might not be as good as the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is being produced by Square Enix, which looks a lot better, to be fair.
Okay. But yeah, that's my hopes and predictions, that, you know, we continue to see this equation honed in, and that ultimately we do get to see an interaction of some of the Suicide Squad with an actual, you know, member of the Justice League.
Nice.
So here's my hot take, and I said it to Andrew when we left the theater the other night. I don't think DC should do a connected universe anymore. There's that. I really liked this Suicide Squad movie. Give me 15 more bottle movies that don't connect to each other, and I'll see all 15 of them. Keep trying to tie them together, and I'm not coming back. And, you know, like, I know that what the MCU did is really great, and I love it, and it's become my entire personality in the last 10 years, and that's fine. But I think it's lightning in a bottle. Yeah, and I don't think that everything needs to be a connected universe. It just doesn't. Movies can stand on their own. And this Suicide Squad movie was really fun to watch on its own. I would love to see DC make movies and like nail their castings. Harley Quinn stays as Margot Robbie. Hopefully Arpad is good as Batman. Like, you keep the people around, but you don't have to connect all of the movies. You know, you get a one-line nod here or there, but like, they're just comic book stories. They exist on their own. And I think that that's a lot better. And so my hope and prediction going forward is that, like, yeah, maybe eventually we get a Suicide Squad Justice League movie, but that they just kind of like show up, you know? Like, I don't need 10 movies to give me everybody's origin story to lead up to a giant Henry Cavill punches Margot Robbie in the stomach. Like, I don't need that.
I will sing the praises of the DC animated universe until the end of time. The thing the DC animated universe did really well that I think the movies should adopt is that the universe was connected. It was a big, shared universe, in that when characters appeared across the different shows, they were consistent. Superman was always voiced by the same person. Batman was always Batman was the same person. The characterization was consistent, but when those characters showed up, it was a cameo. It was a fun, like, Superman's in this episode, and that's it. It didn't tie back to the Superman's appearance in Batman didn't tie back to the Superman cartoon. It was just like, oh, Bruce, my villain ran away from Metropolis and came here to Gotham, and I'm here to recruit you to help me stop him. And that was it. And if that's all that more tied the movies are going forward, that would be fantastic. Like, keep bringing Margot Robbie back for cameos, but like, we don't need this big interconnected serial that Marvel has done, because Marvel is doing that. They've got that market. Tell these one-offs.
Matt earlier said that 2016 Suicide Squad was not redeemable, and I do want to bring up one very minor thing that I noticed. Jared Leto's Joker.
No, wait, time out. Stop. Hang on. Wait. Stop. No, I want to set the stage here real quick. You prefaced Jared Leto's Joker, which you're going to talk about, as one small thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not. And so now I want to know what the rest of your sentence is.
It's not good. Jared Leto's Joker has me really excited for Morbius. I couldn't get through it.
Oh my god!
I don't know. I got nothing else to say. Jared Leto sucks.
Real quick to what Matt and Kyle said. So I know my take here on the predictions was like hoping to see a cool like mashup at some point, and I will add that I only want that if it's handled delicately, and we've been burnt so many times to know that the DCCU is not handling things delicately. So I would certainly say take everything that I said and combined with what you all said, that I am certainly fine with that DC, Suicide Squad versus Justice League movie, as long as no one's trying to weave intricate plot lines that lead to why they're there.
Yeah.
Like, I only want that movie if, like, the actors and actresses want to be there to do it, not because it was part of a strategic plan for 20 years. Because I think you made a really good point that Marvel has handled things pretty delicately, and that is their intention. Whereas DC tried to hit the ground in a full sprint to the Justice League instead of a slow, calculated walk. So at this point, like, they want to tell a cohesive story, I'm cool, like you said, Matt, with the bottled episodes. Like, give me a bottled story, take the first 10 minutes to set up what's happening there, and just let us have fun.
Yeah. I want to get my voice in here one more time, and that Captain Boomerang line of, "What are you doing back in prison, Oz?" is like, that's all the more I ever need of connectivity from a DC movie. Is like, give me one sentence of how we got from the last movie to this movie, and I do not give a shit about anything else.
My quick to that point, my quick how I want to see the connectivity laid out is I want the Batman to come out, and then I don't want to see Robert Pattinson until the next Batman movie, and then maybe start putting him in cameos. That's how slowly I want the connectivity to start creeping back in. Because like Todd said, Man of Steel came out, and the next movie was Batman vs Superman. We didn't get to meet Ben Affleck's Batman. He was forced into our lives, and from there it only ramped up. And please, DC, I know you're listening to Warner Brothers. I know you're listening to this podcast. Pump the brakes. Make good movies. If you make it, they will come. Just make good movies and make people like your property again. And then spin off your massive universe.
I think there is a lot to be said about the fact that more people have played Batman than there have been an individual solo line of movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, not counting animated voices, 9 different people have been Batman. And so DC keeps trying to tie together a connected universe, and they can't get a mainstay actor to last more than like a movie, maybe 2, with the exception of Christian Bale, who did 3, and Adam West, who was TV's Batman. Like, just rein it the fuck in, you guys. Like, just pick a series, do a trilogy, move on. That's it.
Matt, you're our James Bond expert. How many James Bonds have there been?
11, I think.
That's not as far off from 9 Batmans as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
No, I was wrong. There are 7. There have been less James Bond than there have been Batmans.
That's an issue.
Yeah. There are technically there are 8 because there's one James Bond that like super doesn't count. But yeah, there are less James Bonds than there have been Batmans. And Dr. No came out in 1962. So
and Batman's got about 20 or 30 years on James Bond, but that's still ridiculous considering James Bond was like the gold standard for too many actors have played James Bond.
Yeah. I guess that's 7. That 7 counts everybody because David Niven is in that, and David Niven like super doesn't count. So there you go.
Which one was David Niven in?
He only played 1, and it was like the non-Eon film. It was the original Casino Royale from 67.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DebateThisCast or on our website at debatethiscast.com. You want more Debate This content, but you hate missing that Tuesday we take off. We don't really take it off. We put out a special episode for our Patreon content. So if you subscribe to our Patreon for just $5, you can unlock the 4th Tuesday. And doing that will also let you get nerdy with us in our Patreon-only Discord, where we talk about spoilers for new shows as they come out. We share memes, and we have a very blurst cursed images page just to, if you want to punish your eye holes first thing in the morning like we all do. So until next time, I am Kyle Harper.
I'm Matt. That's not a Suicide Squad. That's the Suicide Squad. Cole.
I'm Todd. Andy Serkis is in the upcoming The Batman movie. What role is he playing? Alfred Pennyworth. Thomas.
And I'm Andrew. What are we? Some kind of The Suicide Squad, a James Gunn film? Henderson.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us. And if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.